Have you ever wondered why the thought of growing old alone feels so frightening to many people, yet strangely peaceful to others? Some people reach old age surrounded by noise, obligations, and expectations and still feel lonely, while others live quietly, perhaps even alone, and experience a kind of calm that younger generations rarely understand. What creates that difference? Buddhist wisdom offers a gentle answer. Happiness in old age does not come from how many people are around you, but from how deeply you are at peace with yourself. There comes a time in life when the world becomes quieter, the rush of youth slows down, responsibilities begin to fade, and you are finally given something many people spend their entire lives chasing without realizing it: space. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to live according to your own rhythm. But solitude can feel like freedom, or it can feel like emptiness. The difference lies in how you understand it. In this video, we will explore 6 Buddhist teachings that can help you experience peace, meaning, and quiet happiness, even when life becomes slower, quieter, and more solitary. These are not rules, they are gentle understandings, lessons that many people only discover late in life. Yet, once understood, they can transform solitude into one of the most meaningful chapters of your journey. Listen slowly. Allow each lesson to settle softly in your mind. Perhaps you will recognize parts of your own story in these words, and perhaps by the end you will see that being alone in old age does not mean your life is shrinking. Sometimes it means your life is finally becoming clear. Let us begin. Lesson 1. Learn to enjoy your own company. One of the greatest fears people have about aging is the possibility of being alone. But Buddhism gently reminds us of something most people overlook. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude, on the other hand, is the freedom of being comfortable with yourself. And this is one of the most important skills you can develop in later life, learning to enjoy your own presence. For many years, your life may have been filled with roles. You may have been a parent, a partner, a provider, a caregiver, or a professional. Your days were structured around the needs of others. Your time was rarely your own. But as life changes, many of those roles naturally fade. Children grow up, careers end, daily routines become quieter. At first, this change can feel unsettling. The silence that once seemed peaceful may suddenly feel unfamiliar. Without the constant activity of earlier years, you may find yourself wondering who you are without all those responsibilities. Buddhist wisdom invites you to see this moment differently. This is not a loss, it is an invitation. For perhaps the first time in decades, you are meeting yourself again. Think of your mind like an old friend you have not spoken to in years. For most of your life, you were busy solving problems, meeting expectations, and keeping up with the pace of the world. Now the pace has slowed enough for you to finally sit down with your own thoughts. At first, that meeting may feel awkward, but slowly, something beautiful begins to happen. You start noticing simple things: the quiet comfort of your home, the rhythm of your breathing, the small choices that now belong entirely to you. You realize you no longer need to fill every moment with conversation, television, or distraction. You can sit quietly with a cup of tea and simply observe the day unfolding. This ability to enjoy your own company is a deep form of inner freedom. In Buddhism, monks often spend long periods in solitude, not because they dislike people, but because solitude allows them to understand their own mind. You do not need to live in a monastery to experience this wisdom. You can practice it in small ways. Take a slow walk without rushing. Sit by a window and watch the changing light. Listen to the sound of rain without reaching for your phone or television. At first, the mind may resist. It may search for something to do, someone to talk to, something to distract you. But over time, your mind learns a new rhythm. You begin to realize that peace does not depend on external company. Peace grows from the ability to feel at home within yourself. And when you become comfortable with your own presence, something remarkable happens. Being alone no longer feels like something to fear. It becomes something to cherish. Because the truth is this: the longest relationship you will ever have in this life is the one you have with yourself. And when that relationship becomes gentle, patient, and accepting, solitude stops feeling empty. It begins to feel like quiet companionship. Lesson 2. Release the need to be needed. For many people, happiness in younger years is closely tied to being useful. You may have spent decades helping others, raising children, supporting family members, building a career, solving problems, and offering guidance to those around you. Being needed gave your life structure and purpose. But as time passes, the world changes. Children become independent, workplaces move on, family members learn to manage their own lives, and slowly something shifts. You may notice that fewer people depend on you in the same way they once did. For some, this transition can feel painful. It can create a quiet question inside the heart. If no one needs me the way they used to, what is my purpose now? Buddhist wisdom offers a comforting perspective. Your value has never been determined by how much others rely on you. Your worth is not measured by productivity. It is not defined by the roles you once played. Those roles were chapters of your life, but they were never the whole story. Imagine a tree that spent many years providing shade, fruit, and shelter for others. During the busiest seasons, people gathered around it constantly. They relied on its branches and appreciated its presence. But eventually the seasons change. The tree no longer produces fruit in the same way. The crowds become smaller, yet the tree does not lose its value. Its roots are deeper, its trunk is stronger, its presence is calmer. People may not depend on it as urgently as before, but it still stands with quiet dignity, offering something just as meaningful: peace. This is the stage of life where you begin to move from being needed to simply being. And being is far more powerful than most people realize. You do not need to constantly prove your usefulness to deserve love, respect, or happiness. Sometimes your presence alone is enough. A calm conversation, a kind word, a moment of patient listening. These small gestures carry enormous weight, especially in a world that often moves too fast. In Buddhism, the idea of purpose evolves as we age. When we are young, purpose often looks like achievement. But later in life, purpose becomes something quieter and deeper. It becomes wisdom. You have seen things younger people have not yet experienced. You understand how quickly time passes. You know which worries fade and which truly matter. You have lived through mistakes, growth, heartbreak, and healing. That knowledge is valuable, but sharing it does not require constant activity or responsibility. Sometimes your greatest contribution is simply living with calm awareness. When others see someone who is at peace with aging, with solitude, and with the changing seasons of life, it offers them something rare, an example of graceful living. Instead of asking yourself, "Who needs me today?" you might ask a gentler question: "How can I care for this moment?" Perhaps that means tending to your own well-being, taking a walk, reading something meaningful, cooking a meal slowly and mindfully. When you release the need to always be needed, something surprising happens. You begin to discover a new kind of purpose, not one built on obligation, but one built on presence, awareness, and quiet wisdom. And in that peaceful space, happiness begins to grow naturally. Lesson 3. Simplify your life and lighten your mind. There is a quiet shift that often happens as we grow older. Things that once felt important slowly begin to lose their weight. The endless rushing, the constant need to acquire more, the pressure to keep up with the expectations of others. Many people spend their youth accumulating possessions, responsibilities, commitments, social roles. Life becomes full, sometimes so full that there is very little room left to simply breathe. But aging offers something rare and valuable. It offers the opportunity to simplify. In Buddhist philosophy, simplicity is not about deprivation. It is about clarity. It is the understanding that happiness rarely comes from having more, but often appears when we finally learn to live with less. Look around your home for a moment. You may notice objects that have followed you through many chapters of life. Furniture, clothes, books, souvenirs, small things that once felt important. Some hold beautiful memories. Others simply remained because there was never time to question whether they still belonged in your life. As the years pass, many people discover something surprising. The more we simplify our environment, the lighter our mind begins to feel. A cluttered space often mirrors a cluttered mind. Every object carries a small thread of attention, a quiet reminder of something unfinished, something stored, something held onto. When you begin to simplify, you are not losing your past. You are gently choosing what truly matters. Imagine walking through your home and seeing only the things that bring comfort, usefulness, or genuine meaning. The air feels clearer. Your mind feels calmer. The same process can happen within your thoughts. Over time, our minds collect many unnecessary burdens, old disappointments, arguments that happened years ago, expectations about how life should have unfolded. These thoughts quietly take up space in the mind, just as unused objects take up space in a room. Buddhist wisdom teaches that peace often begins with letting go, not by forcing yourself to forget your past, but by deciding which memories deserve your energy today. You may realize that some old resentments no longer serve you. You may notice that certain worries have followed you for years without ever bringing solutions. Just as you might choose to donate an item you no longer need, you can begin to release thoughts that no longer support your peace. Aging gives you permission to live more gently. You do not have to maintain every connection, every obligation, or every expectation that once filled your schedule. You can choose simplicity. Perhaps that means fewer commitments and more quiet mornings. Perhaps it means spending time on things that nourish your spirit, reading, gardening, walking, or simply sitting in silence. In Buddhism, simplicity creates space for mindfulness. When life is no longer overcrowded with distractions, you begin to notice the small details that once passed unnoticed. The warmth of sunlight through a window, the steady rhythm of your breathing, the comfort of a familiar chair in the afternoon. These moments may seem small, but they carry a kind of peace that cannot be purchased or rushed. When your surroundings are simple and your mind is lighter, solitude begins to feel less like emptiness and more like freedom. You are no longer overwhelmed by noise or expectation. Instead, you are living at the pace of your own awareness. And in that quiet simplicity, happiness often appears quietly, without effort, without pressure, simply because there is finally space for it. Lesson 4. Protect your inner peace. As we grow older, something inside us becomes more sensitive, not weaker, but wiser. You begin to notice which conversations leave you feeling calm and which ones leave you feeling drained. You notice which environments bring comfort and which ones create tension. In younger years, many people tolerate situations that disturb their peace. They do it out of obligation, social expectations, or the desire to avoid conflict. But aging slowly reveals a powerful truth. Your inner peace is one of the most valuable things you possess, and protecting it is not selfish. It is wisdom. Buddhism teaches that suffering often arises not from the world itself, but from the way we allow the world to disturb our mind. When you were younger, you may have felt responsible for fixing every problem around you. You may have tried to keep everyone happy. You may have carried the emotional burdens of others, believing it was your duty to solve them. But as life unfolds, you begin to understand something important. Not every problem belongs to you. Not every disagreement requires your involvement. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Protecting your peace does not mean rejecting people. It means choosing your energy carefully. There is a quiet strength in learning when to step back. When a conversation turns negative, you can choose silence rather than argument. When someone tries to pull you into unnecessary drama, you can gently excuse yourself. When the world feels overwhelming, you can return to the calm space inside your own breath. Buddhist practice often begins with something very simple: awareness of the present moment. Your breath becomes an anchor. When your mind feels unsettled, you can pause. Inhale slowly. Exhale gently. Allow the mind to settle, just as muddy water settles when it is left undisturbed. This small practice can transform how you experience solitude. Instead of feeling restless or anxious, you begin to feel grounded. The quiet around you becomes a place of rest rather than discomfort. Protecting your peace also means being selective about the voices you allow into your mind. News, social media, constant noise. These things can create agitation without adding meaning to your life. You have the freedom to choose what you consume. You can choose books that inspire reflection, conversations that bring warmth, activities that nurture calm. Peace grows where attention is placed. Another important part of protecting your peace is learning to forgive. Not necessarily for the benefit of others, but for your own freedom. Holding on to anger or resentment can quietly disturb the mind for years. The person who hurt you may have moved on long ago, yet the memory continues to occupy space within your heart. Forgiveness does not mean approving of what happened. It means releasing the emotional weight you have been carrying. You are not freeing the other person. You are freeing yourself. In later years, this freedom becomes especially valuable. You begin to see how limited time truly is, and you realize that peace is far more precious than being right. When you protect your inner calm, something changes in the way you move through the world. You become slower to react, quicker to understand, more comfortable with silence. And people around you begin to notice this calm presence. They may not always understand how you developed it, but they feel it, because peace, once cultivated, naturally spreads outward. And when you live with a protected, steady mind, solitude becomes not a source of loneliness, but a sanctuary. Lesson 5. Create meaningful daily rituals. When people imagine happiness, they often picture big events, celebrations, achievements, travel, or exciting experiences. Yet as life moves into its later chapters, many discover that lasting happiness rarely comes from extraordinary moments. It comes from ordinary ones. Buddhist wisdom teaches that peace grows from simple, repeated actions done with awareness. These small actions become what we call rituals, not routines that feel mechanical, but gentle habits that give structure, comfort, and meaning to your days. When you live alone in old age, the rhythm of your day becomes especially important. Without work schedules, family responsibilities, or constant appointments, time can sometimes feel empty. Hours may pass quietly, and without a sense of direction, that quiet can slowly turn into restlessness. This is why creating daily rituals is so powerful. Rituals give shape to your time. They offer a sense of continuity, a gentle flow that carries you through the day with calm intention. Think of the way monks live in Buddhist monasteries. Their days are not filled with endless activity. Instead, they follow simple rhythms: waking, meditating, eating, walking, studying, resting. These actions repeat day after day, yet they never become meaningless, because each moment is practiced with presence. You can bring this same wisdom into your own life. A meaningful day does not need to be busy, it only needs to be intentional. You might begin your morning slowly. Instead of rushing out of bed, you sit quietly for a moment. You notice your breath. You acknowledge the simple fact that you have been given another day of life. Perhaps you prepare tea or coffee and drink it slowly, without distraction. You watch the morning light enter your home. You allow the day to begin peacefully rather than hurriedly. This small ritual can change the tone of your entire day. Later, you may choose another gentle practice, perhaps a walk outside. It does not need to be long or difficult. Even 10 or 15 minutes of walking mindfully can reconnect you with the world around you. You notice the movement of trees in the wind, the sound of distant birds, the feeling of your feet touching the ground. In Buddhism, walking meditation is a common practice. The purpose is not exercise alone, but awareness. Each step becomes a reminder that you are still alive, still present, still part of the unfolding world. Afternoons can carry their own quiet rituals. You might read something that nourishes your mind, a book about wisdom, spirituality, or simply a story that brings comfort. You might tend to a small garden, water a plant, cook a simple meal, or write a few reflections about your day. These actions may seem small, but they bring a sense of continuity that helps transform solitude into peaceful living. Evening rituals can be especially meaningful. As the day begins to close, you may sit quietly again and reflect. Instead of focusing on what you did not accomplish, you might ask yourself 3 gentle questions. What moment today brought me peace? What small thing am I grateful for? What can I release before I rest tonight? Perhaps you remember the warmth of sunlight through your window, or the taste of a simple meal, or a kind conversation you had with someone. These reflections slowly train your mind to notice goodness. Many people spend their lives searching for happiness in future events. They believe peace will come when something changes, when they have more money, more company, or more excitement. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that happiness is often hidden inside the quiet structure of everyday life. When you create meaningful rituals, your day stops feeling empty. Instead, it begins to feel balanced. There is a time for stillness, a time for movement, a time for reflection, a time for rest. These rhythms help your mind settle, just like waves eventually settle on a calm shore. And over time, something subtle but beautiful happens. Your home no longer feels like a place of isolation. It becomes a peaceful space where your life unfolds slowly and intentionally. Each small ritual becomes a thread that weaves meaning into your days. And when your days are filled with these gentle moments of presence, solitude begins to feel less like being alone, and more like living peacefully within your own sanctuary. Lesson 6. Accept impermanence and appreciate the present. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the understanding of impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing remains exactly as it was. This truth can feel difficult at first, especially as we grow older and begin to notice the ways life transforms around us. Your body changes. Your routines change. People you once saw every day may no longer be present in the same way. Children build their own lives. Friends move away. Loved ones sometimes leave this world entirely. These changes can make solitude feel heavier if we resist them. But Buddhist wisdom offers a different perspective, one that can transform how we experience the later years of life. Impermanence is not only the source of loss, it is also the reason every moment is precious. Imagine if nothing in life ever changed, if every season stayed the same, if every day repeated forever without variation. Life would eventually lose its meaning. The beauty of a sunset exists because it fades. The value of a conversation exists because it will not last forever. And the significance of your life exists because time is limited. When you understand impermanence deeply, something within your heart begins to soften. Instead of clinging tightly to what has passed, you begin to appreciate what still exists. You may notice that even though life looks different now, it still contains moments of quiet beauty. The sound of rain on your roof, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the gentle rhythm of your breathing. These things may seem small, but they carry a quiet miracle within them. You are still here to experience them. Many people reach old age looking backward, replaying memories of what once was. They think about younger days, busy households, full calendars, and energetic bodies. And sometimes they feel sadness when comparing those memories to the slower rhythm of the present. But Buddhism teaches that comparing the present to the past often creates unnecessary suffering. The past was meaningful for its time. The present has its own meaning too. Instead of asking, "Why is life no longer the way it used to be?" you might ask a gentler question, "What is life offering me now?" Perhaps it is offering quiet reflection. Perhaps it is offering the freedom to live without rushing. Perhaps it is offering a deeper understanding of what truly matters. When you stop resisting change, the later years of life begin to feel less like a decline and more like a natural season. Think of the seasons in nature. Spring is energetic and full of growth. Summer is vibrant and active. Autumn begins to slow, offering warmth and reflection. Winter is quieter, calmer, and deeply peaceful. Old age is like winter. The world may appear quieter, but there is beauty in that stillness. Snow-covered landscapes may seem empty at first glance, yet they hold a deep silence that allows the earth to rest. Your life is not becoming less meaningful in this season. It is simply becoming more reflective. When you accept impermanence, you stop fighting the natural flow of life. You begin to appreciate moments as they are, without demanding that they last forever. You enjoy a conversation without worrying about when it will end. You watch the sunset without wishing it would stay longer. You breathe deeply, recognizing that each breath is a small gift. This awareness can bring an unexpected sense of freedom. You no longer need to control every outcome. You no longer need to resist the passing of time. Instead, you live gently within the present moment. And in that presence, solitude often becomes peaceful rather than painful. Because when you fully accept the changing nature of life, you realize something important. You have not been left behind by time. You are simply walking with it. And each day you wake up is another opportunity to experience life, not as it once was, but as it is right now. If these Buddhist lessons resonated with you, take a quiet moment to reflect on them today. Happiness in old age is not about avoiding solitude. It is about discovering peace within it. If you found comfort in this message, consider subscribing to Mindfulness for more videos on Buddhist wisdom, peaceful living, and mindful aging. Your support helps us share calm, reflection, and gentle guidance with people around the world. Until next time, breathe slowly, live gently, and walk your path with awareness.